Hello everyone, Lily here. Welcome to my channel. And for those returning viewers, welcome back. And today I thought I would do the video introduced by Sylvain at Sylvain's Deadly Sins channel that he introduced about a month ago, which is the hashtag 7 decks for 7 deadly sins. And I can say I've enjoyed everyone's contribution to this, and I know I am late to this, but like we always say, better late than never. So the first sin that we're talking about is pride, a deck you got for flexing. Now actually I misinterpreted the word flexing, so anyway, when I looked it up I saw that it was something to brag about, where in my case I actually thought it was flexing meant to stretch yourself. But as it happens, I have a deck that actually meets those two criterias, which was actually bragging rights and trying to expand my knowledge. And the deck in question is the Orasoma Tarot. And this is a deck, I'm not sure where it came out, but although I can look at the card here and it says that copyright was 2005. When I came across this deck, and this is the one with the blue backs, I thought it would be a good idea to, I already knew tarot, but I thought it might be a good idea to look at how we can use the Orasoma system. And as it happens, I actually never got into the system, because once I started looking into it and the idea of having to buy bottles, which are expensive to start with, or without being a consultant, I kind of lost my interest in it. And of course you can use this as a tarot deck, but I'm not that enthused about the art. So it's a deck that's in my collection, and I also have the guidebook that goes with it. So this is the deck I have for pride. The deck for greed, a deck that you keep only for yourself. In my case is, actually most of my decks qualify for this since I don't read for a lot of other people, but Spirit Keeper's Tarot by Benabel Wen is the one that I would use only for myself. Here are the backs, and I actually often use this deck because I do the readings and then I use the guidebooks to do the I Ching hexagrams. Although, you know, of course I could use any deck for this, but I actually prefer using this one. So this is my deck for greed. The next sin, which is wrath, a deck that you're angry at, in my case is the Pocket of Peers. And I already have another video specifically on this deck and why. It has nothing to do with the art. It's actually quite nice. I actually like the art. I sort of like the concept of using personalities to depict the cards. My big problem with this deck is that it's the guidebook, because honestly there's very little information on why these people represent the card they are depicted at, and the guidebook does a very poor job of explaining why, if there's any explanation at all. So to me it's a big disappointment in that sense. So as far as I'm concerned, I ended up with a very pretty deck that might as well could have been, you know, a magazine feature where, you know, you have a personality and, you know, some of these, I mean, like this, you know, where's the dancing going on? I mean, it's nice. We have 3 people standing there with their cups, drinking coffee. So, this is my deck for Wrath. The next one is Envy, a deck you bought because everyone else had it. In my case, it was The Wild Unknown. And this one is the 2nd edition put out by Kim Krantz. At the time I got back into tarot, everybody was talking about this deck. You couldn't go on a forum, you couldn't look at YouTube without someone talking about The Wild Unknown and how unusual it is. So I got it. I actually have the 1st edition as well as this one. And it's one of those decks, well, I think it's very pretty. And it is growing on me, but I find that, again, the guidebook was terrible. And some of the art is so sparse that it's difficult to get any meaning out of it. And yeah, so the thing is it's one of those things that if I'm going to use that deck, or if I am using that deck for whatever reason, I'm really relying on what I know of the cards without relying on the art so much. So that is The Wild Unknown for Envy. The following sin is Lust, a deck that you got for aesthetic reasons. And for my pick for this one, it's the Playful Heart Tarot. Just because I thought I really fell in love with the art. It's whimsical, it's fun, it's easy to read. You don't really need a guidebook for this one. And I mean, I think she's a great artist, and you know, she did a really good job in conveying the meaning of the cards in art that's cute and colorful. So that is my deck for Lust. The next in the series is Gluttony, a deck you bought that you didn't need. And like a lot of decks in my collection, this applies, you know, Gluttony applies to it in the fact that I really need all those decks. But the one that really fits the bill for this one is the Lightseer's Tarot by Hay House, because I bought this one even though I have the original deck from Kickstarter. And the reason I did that is mainly because after the furor that happened when the Kickstarter version was released over the Ten of Swords, and that Chrisanne actually deliberately removed the card from the decks she still had in her possession, it automatically made that deck very highly sought. It became expensive overnight, and basically, I know it's psychologically maybe doesn't make a lot of sense. It became for me too valuable to use the Kickstarter version, and so when the Hay House version came out and they had one of those 50% off sales, I I went out and got myself a copy. And if I'm going to be using the Lightseers Tarot, it's very often this one that I pull out and I play with. And hopefully I'll edge it one of these days. I have the markers for it, just didn't get around to it. And the last sin, Sloth, a deck you pull out when you're feeling lazy or you don't want to work too hard. In my case, it is the Rider-Waite-Smith, this one in a tin, the Centennial Edition. I mean, this deck has become so familiar to me when I use it. Like, I've been studying it for so long, and every time if I have a class or if I read a book, you know, this deck is always featured, and it's always the one I actually use for learning experiences. Right now I'm taking a class with tarot, and this is the deck I use just because, I mean, the cards speak to me because we've had this relationship for so long. It's also the deck I use if I'm going to be reading for other people, again, because it speaks to me. So there you have it. These are my 7 decks for Deadly Sin, and I want to say thank you to Sylvain for putting out a great tag. Boy, it's really popular, Sylvain. You really hit the jackpot with this one. So, until next time, have a good day.